Hi everyone. Today we travel to Petra, the ancient city in Jordan. Improve your English listening as we explore its carved rocks, tombs, and culture. Remember to like and subscribe for more easy English stories. The Story of Petra. Part 1. The History of Petra. Petra is one of the most famous ancient cities in the world. It is located in southern Jordan, surrounded by mountains and deserts. The city is very old, and it is famous for its beautiful stone buildings and tombs that are carved directly into the rock. Petra was not built in one day or by one person. It has a long history that tells us about the people who lived there and their culture, trade, and technology. Today, Petra is a symbol of Jordan and one of the most popular tourist places in the world. Petra was first settled around 312 BCE by the Nabateans. The Nabateans were a group of people who were very good at trade and business. They traveled through deserts with camels and horses, bringing goods like spices, silk, and precious stones from one country to another. Petra became their main city because it was easy to protect and very suitable for trade. The mountains around Petra created natural barriers, which made it difficult for enemies to attack. At the same time, Petra was located on important trade routes connecting Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean Sea. This made it a rich and important city in the ancient world. The Nabateans carved many buildings, tombs, and temples directly into the red and pink sandstone cliffs. The most famous building is called Al-Khazna, or the Treasury. This building looks like a palace and has very detailed decorations. Archaeologists believe it was a tomb for a Nabatene king, but its exact purpose is not certain. The treasury is only one example of the many amazing structures in Petra. There are also hundreds of other tombs, houses, theaters, and temples. All of them show that the Nabateans were very skilled builders and artists. They knew how to carve stone carefully and how to make strong buildings that could last for thousands of years. Petra was not only a city of buildings. It was also a city of water. The Nabateans created a very smart water system. They built canals, pipes, and cisterns to bring water from the mountains to the city. This allowed them to live in the desert and have gardens, fountains, and even swimming pools. The water system was a very important achievement because it shows that the Nabateans understood engineering and nature. Without water, Petra would not have been a rich and important city. Today, scientists study these systems to understand how people lived in the desert so long ago. Petra continued to grow and become more powerful for many years. In the 1st century BCE and the 1st century CE, it became a large city with thousands of people living there. The Nabateans were very good at trade, and Petra became famous for luxury goods, including spices, perfumes, and textiles. Travelers and merchants from many countries came to Petra to buy and sell goods. The city also had theaters, temples, and public buildings where people could meet and celebrate. It was a city full of life, culture, and business. Later, Petra became part of the Roman Empire around 106 CE. The Romans brought new ideas, buildings, and roads. They connected Petra to other cities in the empire. Even under Roman rule, Petra continued to be an important trade center. However, over time, trade routes changed, and earthquakes damaged the city. By the 7th century CE, Petra was slowly abandoned. Many people left, and the city became less important. Nature and time covered Petra with sand and rock, and it was almost forgotten by the outside world for hundreds of years. Petra was rediscovered by Western explorers in 1812. Since then, archaeologists and scientists have studied the city carefully. They have learned about the Nabateans, their buildings, and their culture. Petra is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which means it is protected because of its historical and cultural importance. Visitors from all over the world come to see Petra's beauty and learn about the history of this amazing city. The story of Petra teaches us about the creativity, skill, and knowledge of ancient people, and it continues to inspire people today. Part 2: How Petra was built. Petra is famous for its buildings carved directly into the mountains. These buildings are very large and detailed. They show that the people who built Petra, the Nabateans, were very skilled engineers and artists. Building a city like Petra in a desert, using only stone and simple tools, was not easy. Understanding how Petra was built helps us learn about the intelligence and creativity of ancient people. The first step in building Petra was choosing the right location. The Nabateans selected a place between high cliffs. This made the city safe from enemies because the mountains acted as natural walls. They also chose areas with soft sandstone. Sandstone is strong but easier to carve than harder rocks. Using these cliffs, they could create homes, tombs, and temples directly in the mountains. The location was also near trade routes. This meant that people could travel, trade goods, and make the city rich. The most famous method in Petra is rock carving. The Nabateans carved the buildings directly into the cliffs. First, they made a flat surface and drew the outline of the building. Then, they used simple tools like chisels and hammers to remove the stone slowly. The top and outer walls were carved first, and then they worked on the inside. They had to be careful because one mistake could destroy the building. Many buildings have decorations, columns, and sculptures. This shows that the Nabateans were not only practical builders but also very artistic. Petra is also famous for its water systems. Building in a desert required water for people, animals, and plants. The Nabateans created canals, aqueducts, and cisterns to collect rainwater and transport it to the city. They used gravity and careful planning to make the water flow through the streets. They built small dams and storage pools to save water for dry months. These systems allowed Petra to have gardens, fountains, and public baths. The water system is one of the most important parts of Petra because it shows the engineering knowledge of the Nabateans. Without it, living in the desert would have been very difficult. Roads and pathways were also very important. The Nabateans built narrow paths and steps to connect different parts of the city. Some roads led to homes and tombs, while others connected Petra with other cities. The main entrance, called the Sick, is a long, narrow canyon with high walls on both sides. The Sick was carved naturally by the river and then modified by humans. Walking through it, people saw the mountains rise around them, which made the entrance very impressive. The Sick leads directly to the treasury, the most famous building in Petra. Carrying heavy materials was another challenge. Even though many buildings were carved into the mountains, sometimes stones had to be moved for special constructions or decorations. The Nabateans used animals, wooden sledges, and simple machines to transport stone blocks. They also worked in groups. Building Petra required hundreds, sometimes thousands, of workers, including carvers, architects, engineers, and laborers. Everyone had a specific role, and teamwork was very important. Some buildings in Petra, especially tombs, were decorated with columns, sculptures, and intricate designs. The Nabateans combined different styles from many cultures, including Greek, Roman, and Egyptian influences. This shows that Petra was connected to the wider world through trade and cultural exchange. Builders had to be skilled not only in carving stone but also in understanding different styles and combining them into a beautiful design. Building Petra took many generations. It was not finished quickly. Over time, new buildings, tombs, and temples were added. The city grew with its population and became a major center for trade and culture. Even after the city was abandoned, the buildings remained because they were carved into solid rock. Today, Petra still stands as a testament to the skill and creativity of the Nabateans. In conclusion, Petra was built with careful planning, artistic skill, and engineering knowledge. The Nabateans chose the right location, carved stone carefully, designed advanced water systems, and built roads and paths. They worked together as a community to create a city that could survive in the desert. Studying how Petra was built helps us understand the intelligence and determination of ancient people. Petra is not only a beautiful city but also a remarkable achievement of human skill and creativity. Part 3. The People and Life in Petra. Petra was not only a city of stone buildings, it was also a city full of people and life. The Nabateans who built Petra were skilled traders, farmers, and craftsmen. Understanding their daily life helps us learn how they survived in the desert and created such an impressive city. The Nabateans were originally nomads. They traveled across deserts with camels, horses, and donkeys. They brought goods like spices, incense, gold, and silk from one country to another. Petra became their main city because it was safe and located on important trade routes. Traders could rest, store goods, and sell products to visitors. The wealth from trade allowed the Nabateans to build impressive tombs, temples, and houses. Trade made Petra one of the richest cities in the ancient world. People in Petra lived in houses carved into the rocks or built with stone blocks. Houses often had several rooms for sleeping, cooking, and storage. Wealthy families had larger homes with decorated walls and courtyards. Ordinary people lived in smaller houses but still had access to water and basic facilities. Water was collected from rainfall and stored in cisterns. The Nabateans were very smart in using water carefully because the desert was dry. They also grew some food in gardens and small farms, including fruits, vegetables, and dates. Crafts and art were important parts of life in Petra. The Nabateans made pottery, jewelry, and tools. Many items were decorated with patterns or symbols. Jewelry was often made of gold, silver, or stone. Pottery was used for cooking, storing water, and carrying food. Craftsmen worked in workshops, sometimes in their homes, creating beautiful and useful objects. These skills helped Petra's economy and showed the culture of the people who lived there. Religion played a significant role in daily life. The Nabateans worshipped many gods and goddesses. Temples and altars were built for ceremonies. People visited these places to pray, give gifts, or celebrate important events. Some tombs also had religious decorations, showing that death and afterlife were important for them. Festivals and celebrations were often connected to nature, such as the sun and water, which were very important in the desert. Education in Petra was practical. Children learned skills from their parents. Boys often learned to trade, herd animals, or build structures. Girls learned to cook, take care of homes, and make clothes or pottery. Some young people learned reading and writing to help with trade and record keeping. This way, knowledge and skills were passed from generation to generation. Petra was also a city of culture. The Nabateans adopted ideas from other civilizations, such as Greeks, Romans, and Egyptians. They combined these ideas with their own traditions. This can be seen in the design of buildings, decorations, and art. Petra was connected to the wider world, not isolated. Merchants, travelers, and visitors brought new knowledge and influenced the city's culture. Health and food were part of daily life too. People in Petra ate bread, fruits, vegetables, and meat. Camels and goats were common animals for food and transportation. Doctors were not like modern ones, but people knew natural remedies and how to care for illnesses. Water management and hygiene were very important to prevent disease in a desert environment. Social life included markets, gatherings, and festivals. People met to buy and sell goods, share news, and celebrate important occasions. The theater in Petra was a place for entertainment and social events. Music, dancing, and storytelling were common during celebrations. Life in Petra was busy, and people worked hard, but they also enjoyed their culture, religion, and community. Over time, life in Petra changed. When the Romans took control, they introduced new ideas, buildings, and roads. Trade continued, but later, changing trade routes and earthquakes caused many people to leave. By the 7th century CE, Petra was slowly abandoned. However, for hundreds of years, the remains of daily life, buildings, and tombs have taught us a lot about the Nabateans. Archaeologists continue to study these remains to understand how people lived, worked, and celebrated in this ancient city. In conclusion, the people of Petra were skilled, creative, and resourceful. They built a city in a desert, traded across continents, and created a rich culture. Daily life included work, trade, religion, education, and celebration. Studying the people and life in Petra helps us understand how humans can adapt to difficult environments and create something amazing that lasts for thousands of years. Part 4. Petra today and its importance. Today, Petra is one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world. It is in southern Jordan, surrounded by mountains and desert. Petra attracts thousands of visitors every year. People from many countries come to see its unique buildings, tombs, and temples carved into the rock. The city is not only a beautiful place but also an important symbol of history, culture, and human achievement. Petra is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This means it is recognized as having great historical, cultural, and scientific value. UNESCO protects the site to keep it safe for future generations. Petra is also one of the new 7 wonders of the world. These awards show that people everywhere admire Petra for its beauty and history. Visitors can walk along the narrow canyon called the Sick, which leads to the most famous building, Al-Khazna, or the Treasury. The journey through the Sikh is long and narrow, with high cliffs on both sides. When visitors see the treasury for the first time, it is a very impressive view. Tourists and researchers come to Petra for different reasons. Many visitors come to see its architecture and learn about the Nabateans. Others come to take photographs, explore the desert, and understand how ancient people lived. Archaeologists and scientists study Petra to learn more about its buildings, water systems, and culture. Recent studies show that Petra was part of a larger network of cities, temples, and trade routes. These discoveries help researchers understand how important Petra was in ancient times. Petra is also important for education. Students, historians, and tourists can learn about ancient engineering, trade, and art. The buildings show advanced skills in rock carving and construction. The water systems demonstrate clever planning and understanding of nature. Petra teaches us that humans can adapt to difficult environments and create something remarkable. It is an example of human creativity, intelligence, and teamwork. Tourism is very important for Jordan's economy. Visitors pay for entrance, tours, hotels, and transportation. This money helps protect Petra and supports local communities. The city also employs guides, archaeologists, and workers who maintain the site. Local people often sell crafts, food, and souvenirs to tourists. In this way, Petra continues to provide a source of life and culture, even thousands of years after it was built. Visitors to Petra should respect the site. The buildings and tombs are very old and can be damaged easily. People are not allowed to touch or climb on most structures. Walking carefully on paths, following guides, and learning about the history helps protect Petra. Conservation work is ongoing, and scientists continue to study ways to prevent erosion and other damage. This protection ensures that Petra will survive for future generations to visit and admire. Special events are also held in Petra today. Tourists sometimes visit during festivals or celebrations related to Jordanian culture. These events show the connection between ancient history and modern life. People can see traditional music, dancing, and crafts in the region around Petra. This cultural experience allows visitors to understand more than just the stones. They can learn about the people, traditions, and history of Jordan. Petra is also a source of inspiration for art and literature. Artists, writers, and filmmakers have used Petra as a model or setting. Its mysterious beauty and dramatic landscape make it a favorite subject. Many people feel that Petra connects the present with the past, showing the skills, beliefs, and lives of ancient people. Visiting Petra allows people to imagine history and feel the accomplishments of human civilization. In conclusion, Petra today is much more than ruins in the desert. It is a center of culture, history, education, and tourism. It teaches us about the Nabateans, their architecture, trade, and daily life. Petra shows human creativity and the ability to adapt to difficult environments. By protecting Petra and sharing its story, we continue to learn from the past and connect with a remarkable civilization that has inspired people for thousands of years.